Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Nobody leaves this place without singing the blues, Chaos Kids.
And I'm Naomi. And this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you said that, and I was re-listening to an episode not that long ago that where you said that, you quoted that line.
Oh, I did? Oh.
Yeah, because it was when you came back from Seaside and you really wanted to ride the swan boat, but you had vertigo, so you couldn't. And you were like, there was like this one thing I really wanted to, like nobody leaves here without singing the blues. Like this, I really wanted to do.
I didn't realize how much I say that.
And Jeremy, when he like edits the episodes, he always tacks on like little things at the very, very end after everything's done that are like little snippets from the episode. That episode, that's what he snipped at the end of it.
Oh my God. That's awesome. How did I miss that? Hi, sister. Welcome back to the States.
Oh, am I back in the States? I don't know. What day is it? What time is it? I am just like, today is, let's see, I got back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today's Thursday. So I'm on my third day back and I'm just now starting. I'm basically like, I'm on East Coast time. So I'm like almost back to West Coast time. Yeah. Germany is 9 hours ahead. So it's
Weird.
like, it's almost at like exact opposite time. So like waking up time is like bedtime here. Anyway, so I'm like almost completely reversed. So I'm trying to, it's rough, sister. It's rough. Also, the travel is weird, right? The travel's weird because I left Frankfurt on Monday. The plane left at like 10:45 a.m. and I landed at SeaTech at noon the same day.
2-hour flight.
It's a long day.
Oh my gosh. That's weird. Did you just get home and crash, go to sleep?
Well, I slept on the plane because it's like a 10+ hour flight. So I slept a lot on the plane and I was like, okay, if I sleep now, I'm like overlapping with kind of like morning hours in Seattle. So when I get here, I will be rested and I will be like awake and then it'll be like noon. It's like, if I can make it till, like 7 or 8 o'clock, like if I stay up late, like it won't be too late and then I'll get like a good night's, it'll be fine. But like, I didn't sleep well the whole time I was in Germany and it was this like a whirlwind, like, work trip. So I was like exhausted and not sleeping well and everything was all out of whack. Right. So I got home and then like kind of crawled onto the couch, like, oh, I'm home. And then promptly fell asleep on the couch for like 6 hours.
Holy shit.
And then I woke up at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night on Monday. And then I was awake until 11-ish p.m. Tuesday night. I didn't sleep for
my God.
24 hours. Yeah, I just didn't sleep for like over 24 hours. And then I slept for like an hour and a half. And then I was awake again until like 4 a.m. And then I slept again for like 2 hours.
Oh my God.
It's just been weird. It's just been weird. Anyway, I finally got some sleep yesterday and this morning, and I got up at like 4:30 a.m. today. So that's why I'm like, I think I'm at about East Coast time now. So I will very soon, I will be on West Coast time.
God, that all sounds real fucking terrible. I am sorry.
So I'm sure everybody needed to hear that. That's my story. That's my week. That's my week, sister. That's my week.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I was in Germany all last week. That's a whole other story. First time ever there. And that was awesome and insane and weird and fun. And yeah, all the things.
Cool.
What about you? What's going on with you?
Oh gosh, nothing like that. Well, my son got married. That was the last time I saw you.
Did.
What a fun party. Fun party. Really Yeah. And I'm weirdly glad that August is over. Like that was a brutal month. There was a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came back. So from the wedding, I took that Monday off and I slept for 15 hours.
Straight?
No, in chunks, but
Oh, I was like, that doesn't sound like you, but
I
wow.
was so exhausted.
It was
So
a lot.
exhausted.
It was
It
a
was a
lot.
lot. It was a lot. Yeah, it was awesome though. So, yeah, that's all. And that's all I got really. I'm not drinking anything today because I am having surgery first thing in the morning to yank out my janky wisdom teeth.
I can't believe you're just now this should have happened like 20 years ago. I don't understand.
Well, they never were a problem, and I had plenty of room in this giant mouth, and now they all have cavities. And actually, my dentist was like, "We can fill those." I'm like, "Why in the world would I do that? No, I don't want to
just
fill
yank
those.
them.
Take
Just
them
yank 'em.
out."
How many? All is it 4? Is it all 4?
I only ever grew 3,
Oh,
so it's all 3. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Well, I did that back in my 20s, so I mean, it's not as bad. People, you'll be fine, but no sucking.
I know.
Did
And
you patches or some gum or something?
Mhm.
I don't think you can do gum actually. Patches.
I got patches. Nothing can ever be as bad as having my tonsils out as an adult.
Oh, right. I remember that whole ordeal.
I can handle just about anything after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, okay, sister. Well,
right, sis.
Godspeed. I am going to tell you about this horrible fucking crime. How about that?
Okay. That sounds
right.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you ever heard about what happened to April Tinsley?
She went missing, right? She was a little girl that went missing.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely am aware of her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about her.
Okay.
April Marie Tinsley was born March 18th, 1980. In Fort Wayne, Indiana. She was a first grader at Fairfield Elementary School and a member of the children's choir at the Faith United Methodist Church in 1988, when this all takes place. She was her mom, Janet's first and only child. Janet had dreamed of having a little girl with blonde hair, and April was exactly that. April was smart and sweet and fun-loving. She had lots of friends, many of which lived nearby. And oh my God, Amber, she is such a fucking cutie pie. Oh my God, when you see her picture, she's fucking adorable. So this is what happened. On April 1st, 1988, just weeks after April's 8th birthday, she was in her neighborhood after school playing with her friends. So the kids were enjoying an early dismissal from school that day. It was a Friday leading into Easter weekend. April had finished eating lunch at home and asked her mom if she could go to her friend's house, which was just a few blocks away. And April did this all the time. She walked, a couple blocks over to go play with her friends. So Janet said, that's fine as long as as long as you call when you get there, which April did because she always did. And so Janet also told her that she should take an umbrella with her because there was supposed to be rain later in the afternoon. And she, of course, had to be home by 4 in time for dinner.
Okay.
So April was out for a couple hours or so. She and one of her friends went to a nearby park to play. And then it was around 3 o'clock. And she said to her friend that she was going to head back to her house so she could be home for dinner. But then after she started walking, April remembered that her umbrella was still at her friend's house. So she turned back and went back to her friend's house instead to go get her umbrella. Her friend left the park and she went to another's friend's house and she didn't walk with April to go get her umbrella.
Oh, because little kids don't know.
They don't. And it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. Although it's so weird.
In their neighborhood, right? I mean, in their neighborhood, right?
I know. And even all that I know that was normal. We did stuff like that. It sounds so weird to me. Like, she's the same age as our niece. And can you imagine, like, I'm just going to walk down the road and I just, like, no way. No fucking way. By yourself?
Yeah. Like a few blocks away.
But that was totally normal.
It was totally normal.
I
know.
So freaked out. Yeah.
So 4 o'clock comes and April isn't home and Janet starts to get worried. So she calls the friend's house. She speaks to the mom, and the mom of the friend tells her April never came back to the house to get her umbrella. In fact, the umbrella was still sitting there at the friend's house.
Oh, no.
Janet went out into the neighborhood, right? She started looking for April and couldn't find her. So, of course, she calls the police to report her missing, and they take it seriously right away. And she told them that April was last... Oh, my God. This is the part that, like, almost made me cry. It was just, like, so... Oh, my God. She was last seen wearing pink shoes, turquoise green pants with 3 pink hearts on them.
Oh.
A light blue sweater and a pink jacket.
God. Little cutie pie.
I know. It was the 3 little hearts on the turquoise pants.
I know.
That's
like, so cute. Like
and
little
it's so
iron on.
1988, right? Like, and so, oh my God.
It's adorable.
Turquoise and pink. So police initially searched about a 20-block radius that evening. They didn't find any evidence or trace of April. So this is when they suspected that she had been abducted. For the next 3 days, police and the Tinsley family and the community searched for April. The search would involve, upwards of 250 Fort Wayne police officers, along with, about 50 volunteers.
Wow.
3 days after April went missing, on the 4th, around 3:30 in the afternoon, a jogger found the remains of a little girl about 40 feet off the road in a ditch.
Oh my God.
The remains were positively identified as April Tinsley. April was found fully clothed minus 1 shoe, roughly 20 miles from her home near Spencerville, Indiana. Near the site, investigators found April's missing shoe down the road a bit on the opposite side of the street. Police speculated that whoever dumped her there had driven away and then realized one of her shoes was still in the car and threw it out as they were driving away.
Jesus Christ, who the fuck throws a child out of their car like garbage? What? This person is... I hate everything.
Also found nearby was a sex toy in a shopping bag.
No.
April's autopsy revealed she died by strangulation. She had also been brutally sexually assaulted.
God damn it.
This poor little baby. A small amount of DNA was collected with the sexual assault kit. There was like a little bit of semen found on her underwear. But this is 1988, and the amount was too small to do much with the DNA. Like I think they could create like some kind of like rudimentary DNA profile, but it wasn't as robust as the type of DNA profiles they can produce today.
Right.
So there's not much to be done with this DNA at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was also determined that April had been dead for about 1 or 2 days before her body was found, and that she hadn't been in the ditch by the side of the road for much more than about 4 hours, which means that she was taken somewhere and held for a day or two before she was murdered and dumped.
Oh my God.
The day after April's body was found, a local radio station set up a reward fund, and 2 other funds were established, one for the Tinsley family and one for April's burial. Some witnesses did come forward to report possible sightings. One said, this one was weird because I read like a bunch of different articles and they all kind of said different shit about this. But basically, some witness came forward and said that they saw a little girl matching April's description walking in the neighborhood where April lived. And the witness claimed to have seen a blue pickup truck pull up alongside the little girl, then pull away shortly after, but did not hear or see a struggle or have any indication that they may have just witnessed an abduction. But in other reports, the witness claims to have seen this man grab this girl and like throw her in the car. And it's all just like kind of unclear, but there's definitely like dude, blue truck in the neighborhood near April, or someone who looked like her. So there was a composite sketch made based on the description of that this witness provided of the man that was driving this blue pickup truck. Another witness reported having seen a blue pickup truck near the area where April's body was discovered.
God, and it seems like they just barely missed each other. If they're estimating she had been there for 4 hours and the search people were already out and about, I mean, right?
What do you mean?
No. Oh, no, it was like a passerby that found her like 20 miles away.
A jogger found her, yeah.
Oh,
it was a happenstance finding. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was going to say, that's gutsy.
So the investigation started searching for the truck of this driver. Well, also she was found like 20 miles away from her neighborhood. Like they went out of their way to. So they start looking for the driver of this truck. The Fort Wayne community was obviously rocked by this horrible tragedy that an 8-year-old girl was abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered while walking through her very safe neighborhood in broad daylight was basically unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
April's service was held 4 days after her body was found on the 8th at the Faith United Methodist Church, where she was in the choir there. A few weeks later, 90 members of the community formed an organization known as April, Associated Parents Regional Independent League, and their goal was to keep children safe in the Fort Wayne community.
God, that poor mother.
I know. Can you even?
No, I cannot.
No. So early on in the investigation, police honed in on a suspect, a 34-year-old man who was charged with child molestation in a separate case, but then acquitted of those charges. He apparently resembled the police sketch of the driver of the blue truck. He was even picked out of a lineup, I would say presumably by one or both of those witnesses that saw the truck, I guess.
Okay.
Others claimed he often watched children playing in the park, had made comments about sexually assaulting children, and was part of a satanic cult.
Okay, sure. But also, who just fucking casually makes comments about sexually assaulting children?
Well, I mean,
to who?
I know, right?
What are we talking about? You're just hoping that that's going to be received okay?
I don't even, right?
Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah.
Well, there were rumors in the community that April's murder could have been part of a satanic sacrifice ceremony.
Oh, come on. Because it was the late 80s, everything.
It was the late 80s. Everything was
Mm-hmm.
Satanic panic is just so, we can look at it now and be like, that is crazy pants. But like, it was such a thing. It was a thing. It was a real thing.
There was a real thing.
Period in time that was like some kind of weird full circle effect of like the era of witch burning, where people were just convinced that like their neighbors could be Satanists, like eating babies in their basement while like, you know, offering their souls to the Dark Lord. I don't like, people thought that was real. And it's like, has that ever been real? Like, I don't even believe that that's ever been real. Like, does that actually happen?
I don't think it does. No,
I don't think it's ever actually happened in the history of humans. It just seems too far-fetched to me to be even fucking real ever. Let alone like epidemic. You know what I mean?
I know it really was epidemic. Maybe it's people's need to other people that do that. Like that's not just like regular like Tom, Dick, and Harry, because that's too scary.
Right. No, it's Satan worshipers.
It's Satan worshipers. Yeah. That's
so
funny.
Satan is my
Satan
pal.
Is pal. Satan is
Satan
good.
Is good.
That reminds me, this is sort of piggybacking onto that. So I learned that Michael's cousin, Aaron, who was the photographer at Spencer's wedding.
Yes.
His dad played in John Denver's band. So we were having this whole conversation about like, oh yeah, like not really a fan of that music, but what I am a fan of, and I don't remember what I was watching or listening to, was
Rocky Mountain High. Come on.
Well, yeah, I do like that. You wouldn't believe. No, I'm not knocking on him, and here's why: is that whole thing in the early '90s with Tippy Gore and like the music is making. It sort of piggybacked off of Satanic Panic, where like the music is making the kids like.
Oh, right. And they instituted the parental advisory on the lyrics of the for like,
yes. And one of the many musicians who came in to testify in support of the artist was John Denver. And I remember watching that, and John Denver was like, I don't say stuff like that, but I think other artists should be able to say whatever they want. And it was just such a weird collection of like, what's his face from Twisted Sister, and then here comes John Denver.
Dee Snider,
Yes. And I was like, good for you, John Denver. God.
Well, I mean, you know, righteous causes create strange bedfellows sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the morph. That was the like the metamorphosis of Satanic Panic. It moved. It was like, because we always want to blame some external thing. It's like you said. I think it's less like otherizing, and it's more like blame some external force.
Correct.
Some other thing outside of us that is like influencing us negatively to be that way instead of it. And it is, because it is less scary than some people are just fucked up.
Right. And I think it was the wrong path, but it came from a good place of like, how do we spot it? How do we make this not happen? Because saying there isn't anything we can do is really fucking scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this dude, he didn't own a blue truck, but he did have access to one because he had a friend who owned one. Apparently, people who knew him or neighbors of his had seen a blue truck parked outside of his house a few times or something. But police ruled him out. They had no physical evidence to connect him to April's murder. There was no indication that it was part of a satanic ceremony at all.
Oh, weird.
Right. Mm-hmm. Other sex offenders in the area were also investigated, but none of them could be linked to the murder.
Okay.
And then the case went cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got weird. So 2 years after April's murder, there's still no leads. It's May 21st, 1990. Police respond to a report of a fucked up message written on the side of a barn near Fort Wayne. The message was written in crayons, and it said, quote, "I kill 8-year-old April M. Tinsley. Did you find the other shoe? Ha ha, I will kill again."
Oh my God. That just gave me fucking chills. And the fact that it's in crayon is extra creepy.
It's extra. It's so extra. The crayons were found near the barn. So police took this shit seriously because the fact that her other shoe was not found with her body was not publicly disclosed.
Oh, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. But this didn't give investigators any new solid leads. And then it gets weirder. So less than a month later, on June 14th, 1990, the body of 7-year-old Sarah Jean Boker was found in Fort Wayne. Sarah was also blonde, also sexually assaulted, also killed by suffocation, and found dead in a ditch.
Oh, shit.
Initially, these two murders were thought to possibly be connected, and local and state police formed a homicide team in April of 1991. And a few months later, in August of 91, the FBI Behavioral Science Unit determined that they actually were not related.
Whoa.
So Sarah's case would never be fully solved simply because the prime suspect would die 3 years after her murder before he could be brought to trial. They had a very viable suspect who at this point in time has been determined, we're pretty sure it was this fucking guy, but they can't fully do anything about it or prove it because they couldn't take it to trial because he died. And there was no DNA because her body was found outside, but it had been rained on and all physical evidence had kind of been washed away. And so we just don't have the benefit of holding on to evidence that can be better tested over time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're pretty sure they know who the guy was. But people still tried to tie this dude to April's murder anyway for a really long time. So tips and leads continued to come in over the years, but none of them resulted in any new suspects in April's murder. And then Memorial Day weekend, 2004, 14 years after the crayon scrawled note on the barn, 16 years after April's murder, 4 separate notes written on lined yellow paper were found in the Fort Wayne area, written to little girls similar in age to April at the time of her murder.
What?
3 of them were left on their bicycles that were left out in their yards. 1 was left in a mailbox.
Mm-mm.
One of these notes read, quote, "Hi, honey, I've been watching you. I am the same person that kidnapped and raped and this guy, April Tinsley. You are my next victim. If you don't report this to police, and if I don't see this in the paper tomorrow or on the local news, I will blow up your house."
Jesus. So, okay. I wonder, okay.
There's more.
Okay.
3 of the notes were placed in plastic bags and included used condoms and Polaroid pictures of a man's genitals.
That's fucking disgusting.
Yes.
I'm trying to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No.
I'm like, is this person young or dumb or trying to sound young or dumb with the misspellings and the I rape, you know what I'm saying? And with the crayon and I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's good questions.
Okay, thanks.
My impression when I got to that part was, no, this is just a fucking idiot who doesn't know how to fucking spell.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The DNA from the condoms matched the profile the police had on file for the suspect in April's murder.
Oh, wow.
So these were legitimately from April's murderer.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, the letters were in the same handwriting with the same grammar and spelling mistakes as the crayon message.
That's so creepy.
I know, I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
The police released the content of the notes to the public, I think within a year. Very soon after, a young man came forward saying that maybe his dad was the killer.
Oh.
His dad had driven a blue truck back in 1988 and painted it a different color shortly after April's murder. He was also a registered sex offender of children.
Mm.
He often used language like hi, honey, and ha ha, according to the Sun.
Ew.
He had lived within blocks of where April disappeared and often took lewd photos of himself with a Polaroid camera.
Jesus Christ.
So they bring this guy in, and he claims to have an alibi that he'd been working that day that April went missing. But they were like, you remember like what you were doing on that specific day, like 16, 17 years ago. So they went digging a bit. They discovered that was bullshit. He was not working that day. So now they're confident they have this guy. So DNA sample, here we go. But his DNA was not a match for the suspect profile.
God, well, that's just creepy that there's somebody that equally fucking disturbing walking around that neighborhood.
The same neighborhood.
Uh-huh. Jeez. Fuck, that poor kid. That's his dad. Jesus Christ.
I know, right? Can you? No.
No, I can't imagine.
No, just. Oh my God. In 2009, the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit created a profile of the suspect. I hate these things so much. But anyway, so they labeled him, quote, a preferential child sex offender, which means he has a long-term and persistent sexual desire for children. He was also described as a white male, at that time then would be in his 40s or 50s, living or working in Northeast Fort Wayne / Allen County with a low to medium income. I mean, like, how many dudes is that?
Also, I could have done that profile.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Like, this is a dumb white
about
guy.
this. You know how I feel about profiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, what is that? When has the profile like ever like solved a murder?
Right?
Ever in the history of profiling?
It really hasn't.
When has it ever found the perpetrator? I'd love it. You know what, Chaos Kids, if you know of one, please tell us, because I would love to be wrong about this.
Well, listen, no shade to the FBI, whatever. Like, I'm sure that's.
I mean, we can shade like the FBI. They're shady as fuck.
Sort of like the Unabomber. Like, this is a recluse, and like, well, no shit. Nobody's making just bombs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The thing that cracked that, which is why I was thinking of him, was the handwriting.
That was the handwriting. It was his handwriting. It was his vocabulary. It was the words he used. Yes.
But it's like so much of the profile is like, well, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I could have told you that.
I could have told you that.
Also, we know statistically speaking that, like, what is it? Like something like 88% of like child sex offenders are white dudes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a huge percentage. In 2015, the Virginia-based company Parabon released a snapshot composite sketch of the subject based on information from the DNA samples, and police released an updated version of the sketch in May of 2016. 2 years later, in May of 2018, Fort Wayne PD sent a sample of the suspect's DNA to Parabon, who would then utilize GEDmatch to identify relatives of the murderer. So we're doing it. We're getting into it. We finally going to narrow it down. 2 months later, genealogist C.C. Moore narrowed down the list of suspects to 2 brothers.
Oh, shit.
Including 59-year-old John D. Miller of Grable, Indiana. His neighbor described him as secluded and often angry. The police staked out his place, and after a couple weeks, finally dug out some used condoms from his trash, and the DNA retrieved from them was a perfect match to April's killer. On July 15th, 2018, police arrived at Miller's home to ask him to come in for a chat. They drove to the police station. It was about a 20-minute drive. He was super amiable. He wanted to talk to them. They had a chit chat. Then they finally sat him down in the interrogation room. They were chit chatting, whatever. And when they asked him if he knew why they might be there, he just said, April Tinsley.
Stop it. I just got chills. You fucker. Oh my God.
In that interview, he confessed to the murder, told them he had planned to kidnap a child. He had not seen April before. This was literally like he drove through the neighborhood, saw a little girl all by herself, and just grabbed the first kid alone he could get into his truck.
Jesus Christ.
He said he took her to his trailer, his mobile home. It's the same trailer where he lived 30 years later when the police came knocking.
So he's had a lot of growth over the years. That's good.
And that was where he sexually assaulted and killed her. And it was at night that he took her body to the ditch where she would later be found.
Oh my God.
Miller told detectives everything they wanted to know, including that he had thought about doing it again over the years, had even driven around looking for a child to maybe abduct, but he never did. And they really dug in on this guy. And like they brought up all these other missing kids, like cases in the area over the years. And like this guy, obviously, like as soon as they gave him a chance to tell them about April, he spilled everything. So there was like no reason why he wouldn't confess to. So they were shocked, but pretty certain that he had not done it since.
Wow.
Here's what's crazy. July 15th, 2018, that was the day they went and got him and this all went down. On the case with Paula Zahn had already scheduled to run to cover April Tinsley's case that night.
Holy shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Also, I love Paula Zahn.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's creepy.
I know. 6 months later, on December 7th, 2018, just over 30 years after first grader April Tinsley was kidnapped, raped, and murdered, John D. Miller pled guilty to murder and child molestation. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murder and additional 30 years for the molestation. He will be eligible for parole in 2058, and he will be 99 years old.
God.
The Tinsley family had initially pushed for the death penalty, but after sentencing, Janet said she understood why the prosecutors agreed to the plea deal that took the death penalty off the table. The city of Fort Wayne dedicated a memorial garden to April Tinsley in her neighborhood known as April's Garden.
Oh, God. Wow. Fuck, that was dark.
I know.
Also, it's like the fact that this is horrible, but the fact that he was just driving around randomly, it's like you think of like if she hadn't forgotten her umbrella.
I know.
You
exactly.
know?
Or
like
if her friend had been walking with her and she hadn't been alone. I mean, we're talking like 2 blocks from her house.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God. Did he ever say if was he the one with doing the notes and the crayon on the barn?
Well, we know for sure he did the notes because there was the DNA from the condoms that matched the suspect. So there's no reason to think that he didn't also do the note on the barn.
I wonder why he was doing that.
That's weird, right? Because it's not like BTK. Yeah. BTK was like taunting like the police and the journalists, right? Like sending in those notes like, fuck you, you'll never find me, basically. Like, I'm the smartest man alive. Like, I'm getting away with it. Right.
Right.
He wanted to like brag about it. This wasn't that. This was something else.
And he didn't have other victims.
No. And as soon as they started talking about it, he just spilled fucking everything. Like, I think this guy just wanted to tell people about it. Like, I think he, look, I'm not an FBI behavioral analyst, but what I would say, like armchair psychology here, is this guy, he probably rode out all those 30 years, like fully remembering every bit of it and like getting off on it and feeling pretty fucking rad about it. And he just wanted to be able to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to sit and talk with somebody about it. Because it was like a highlight in his fucking life.
Well, he should go find that guy that's casually talking about whatever. Maybe they could have a play
sexual
date.
assault on children.
Yeah.
Dropping that, conversation at the water cooler.
No shit. God.
Right?
Oh, what a piece of shit.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for that, I guess.
Yeah. DNA, genealogy, Jed Match does it again.
Jed Match for the win again.
100%.
Well, should we pivot, Honey P?
Please. I have like the vaguest notion of this story because I accidentally went into the wrong folder and saw. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I cannot wait to know more about this.
Oh, so you don't know about Chop and Steele?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Tell me about it, sister.
I'm gonna tell you about Chop and Steele. Okay. So we've got Joe Pickett and Nick Prueher. They've been friends since 6th grade.
Okay.
And they have always been pranksters and like to pull practical jokes. They once pretended to be representatives from UCLA and called a few residents in their neighborhood to let them know that they had reason to believe that there were dinosaur bones under their home and that they would need to excavate.
Did they do anything beyond that, or was it just the phone call?
Just the phone calls, and people were like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, freaking out. They set up a booth for people to unregister to vote. Yeah. And in high school, Nick was working at a McDonald's in his hometown in Wisconsin, and he came across the most ridiculous training video from McDonald's for new hires. But this was like a legit VHS, right? Okay. And it was just fucking ridiculous. So watching this, like he was laughing his ass off. It wasn't supposed to be funny. Right. But this evolves into Joe and Nick collecting a massive library of old, ridiculous VHS tapes.
Just VHS tapes? Because I'm going to say, I've worked at a number of places where they make you sit down like on your first day and like watch like videos to like be trained or educated in the company and the policies or whatever, right? And they're all always fucking awful or ridiculous or both.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So they collect those. They also find exercise videos, different kinds of educational videos, like religious videos. They are ridiculous. And everything that you can think of from like the 80s and 90s, that's ridiculous. And so they end up with this massive collection, and they start touring the country, putting on a festival called the Found Footage Festival.
Oh,
I want to go to one of these. It looks so fucking funny.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that.
Yeah. So they're obviously like not videos that were ever meant to be like for public consumption, but
right.
Yeah. So, oh my God, they take a bunch of like best of clips and put this festival on in a theater, and it's fucking funny. So they do this for 15 years. They do around 120 shows a year.
Wow.
And they're making appearances on morning shows and local news for interviews, and they fucking hate the morning news shows more than anything.
Everybody does. Like everybody hates those, whether you're on it or watching it.
And it starts to become more and more obvious to them that nobody has actually done their homework before booking these morning shows.
They're like, these guys are hot. What do they do? I don't know. Well, bring them on.
Yeah.
Right.
So on one of these shows that they're scheduled for, they don't want to go. They don't want to get out of bed that early. And so instead they send one of their friends to pretend that he was Joe and do the Nick went and this other guy pretended to be Joe. And the news anchor noticed.
Joe was like, I can't. I just can't.
Yeah, I'm not. Yep. So then they decide that they want to test this theory that journalists aren't doing their homework and they're not vetting anybody.
I mean, can we just stop for a minute? Just for a moment. Okay. And just, Can we put journalist in quotations, just like what's her name with the Argonne Tiddlywinks? So she was a journalist before she became a prophet. Right.
Barbara.
Barbara Rogers.
Barbara was her,
Barbara was the right.
Was her follower. I can't remember.
I can't either. Sheila. I wanted to say Sheila or something like that.
Sherry.
Yes.
She was a journalist.
Let's quote, like air quotes around that. Okay. So when he says like, we're going to test journalists, we're talking about morning news shows, local morning shows, right? Journalists are in quotations here. I just want to clarify that before we keep going. Okay.
Okay. So
here's the deal. An actual journalist who takes their career seriously as a journalist absolutely does their homework and vets who they're interviewing before they sit down and talk to them.
That's like our gal Paula Zahn.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. We've come full circle.
Exactly.
So they decide, they're going to do this. So they make a fictional person named Kenny Strasser, who is a yo-yo expert. And they say that
yo-yo experts do exist, just for the record.
Oh, I know. Not this one.
Do you remember in elementary school, like once a year, I don't know if it happened every year, but there was more than once. There was like this crew that came through, and they were like the yo-yo crew, and they could do all kinds of crazy yo-yo tricks, and then they try to sell you yo-yos.
Yeah, like walk the dog.
Yes, round the world. Yo-yo. Yeah.
Well, that's funny because they said that that Kenny here traveled to elementary schools to talk to kids about proper yo-yo environments. Yeah. So Kenny is actually their friend Mark, and so they're just like some dude.
He's roping one of their buddies, like, dude, I need you to do a thing for me.
Well, I'm sure. Well, we'll tell you about Mark later. I'm sure he thanks them. So right away, they book Mark on 7 morning shows. Like right away.
Oh my God.
And Mark doesn't know how to yo-yo at all. Like not even just basic up and down. So he goes on these shows and he's just doing nonsense. He's like swinging it around above his head.
For the record, I know how to do around the world and how to stall. I could never figure out how to walk the dog though.
I can not even do the up and down. It doesn't come back.
Oh, I can do the up and down, and I can do around the world, and I can stall it, and I can bring it back up. I have that much control, and like that's it. That's where it ends for me. You know, I could have been a yo-yo expert if I'd really applied myself, I think.
Well, you're farther along than Mark. Because on one of the shows, while he's doing these made-up things, he actually hits himself in the head.
Yo-yos can be dangerous. You got to be careful.
Okay, but the news people that are doing this with him, you know, are just they're staying in the role that they're supposed to be in, and they're like, oh, oopsies, are you okay? Like, right? Oh my God. But so Mark ends up getting noticed for his comedy, and he went on to play all kinds. He had a part on The Office, on Better Call Saul, on Portlandia.
Seriously? That is amazing. Good job, Mark.
Yeah. So this goes so well for them that they decide to do it again, and they reach out. And this time, Nick is a celebrity chef named Keith, and he's going to go on the morning shows and show people what to do with their Thanksgiving leftovers. And he gets booked. He gets booked on a bunch of shows.
Okay.
So oh God. So on one morning show, he just has some ice cream cones, like the cake cone kind. And an ice cream scoop. And he just scoops some mashed potatoes on there and then sprinkles the top with corn. And that's his recipe. And the anchor is eating it. And she's like, okay, wonderful.
It sounds pretty good. I like corn, mashed potatoes together. So
on another one though, he takes everything, like Thanksgiving related, everything, and makes a smoothie. This is Celebrity Chef.
And the news anchor is like drinking it.
Yes. And she's like, oh, this is good. And then, okay, Yeah. It was, oh my God.
God.
So then Nick and Joe together decide to make themselves a strongman duo called Chop and Steele.
Okay. It's just like Hans and Franz, we're here to pump you up.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. And they're not strong men at all, right? So within 24 hours, they get booked on 12 shows.
Oh my God.
They claimed that they were on America's Got Talent, and that was never fact checked, obviously. So they're both in like spandex tank tops, and one says Chop and the other says Steele. And then they're in like these 80s pants, like the cotton pants that will have like busy neon colors on them.
Yeah, like the ones that the coaches wore forever on the sidelines in football.
Yep.
The football coaches wore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and then the one guy actually shaves his facial hair, like kind of to look like Hulk Hogan. God. So they go
with
on
the
these
like crazy, like squared off upside down U mustache situation.
Yes. Oh my God. And it's so funny.
That's a look.
Yeah, there's a couple of shows where he's like on the phone with his wife and she's like, we have dinner with my parents next week. Please do not fucking do that to your hair. You know, and he's like, all kinds of negotiations going on with this poor guy's wife.
Oh my
right.
God.
So anyway, so they go on there and they're doing shit like they're having a duel with tennis rackets. This is their exercise program. They both are. They stomp on wicker baskets as if they're chopping wood. They're like, whoa, and like, and it's baskets. And then one of them is throwing twigs at the other one's back, and they're acting like they're like being hit with a baseball bat. They're like, as the twigs are hitting.
What?
And I'm not kidding. They are lifting jugs, milk jugs that are actually full of Thanksgiving gravy as weights to show how, you know, it's affordable. You can do this at home.
All you got to do is make 2 gallons of gravy.
One of their routines is like, one of them is in a headstand and the other one, and their legs are up in a V. Mm-hmm. And the other one is like opening and closing their legs as if it's a thigh master with resistance.
and like the whole time they're on an actual like morning news show.
They're live. And they're like, okay, so, well, and sometimes you can see them trying to just
wrap it up.
Like, we're going to go to Amy with the weather. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in 2017, one of the stations where they did this on didn't find it funny at all. But they've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Before. So the parent company of this station, which was Gray Television, it's one of the largest media enterprises in the U.S. They sued them for fraud, copyright infringement, and conspiracy to commit fraud.
Copyright infringement? Who are they copyright infringing?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So, I mean, Nick and Joe are like flat broke anyway, right? So they set up a GoFundMe to help with their legal costs.
With like a best of like video of all of their appearances on these shows.
It's so good. It's so fucking good. Oh, so they're both have to go in for depositions, and Gray Television offers a settlement agreement. And the terms are that Joe and Nick issue a formal apology and acknowledge how difficult the job of journalists are. And that anytime the lawsuit comes up, this apology is what they have to say. And they reject that agreement. They're like, fuck no.
I mean, how would they even be able to say that with a straight fucking face after what they know?
Then America's Got Talent asked them to come on the show as Chop and Steele. So they go on the show and they smash their wicker baskets. And then at the end, they both pee their pants on stage.
On purpose?
Yeah, they drank a whole bunch of water and held it in.
What?
I have no idea why, as like part of their. Mhm. The only judge that found that funny was Howie Mandel.
Which is ironic because Howie Mandel is like a notorious germaphobe. Like
I know.
I
know.
And that's
These
a
guys
very like germy situation going on.
Oh, yeah. Although it was pretty clear they had a lot of water. Yeah. So they ended up settling out of court to an agreement that they could both live with, which was not disclosed. But then the pandemic hit. So they had to cancel their found footage festival tour that they had booked. But then, yeah, in 2021, they're back on the road and they actually are able to get footage of their depositions that they include in their found footage festival tour. And some of the questions are so funny because these attorneys are saying, so you admit that it's false that Chop is a strong man. And he's like, no, Chop is a strong man. Like it's a fictional character. Like you admit that Kenny Strasser isn't a yo-yo expert. No, my Kenny Strasser is. Like this is how they're answering these fucking ridiculous questions.
So good.
It's just that Mark isn't. Yeah. So one of the questions asked by the plaintiff's attorney, because they have this merch that on Frisbees that says Frisbee fuckers.
Okay.
And in the deposition,
I need one of those.
The plaintiff's attorney was like, can you please define Frisbee fucker? It's just so awesome. They said, can you define what a strong man is? And Joe goes, a strong man. It's just awesome. Anyway, so yes, they did not go entirely bankrupt. They were able to get some funds from their GoFundMe. They settled their lawsuit out of court and they are still touring and doing the Found Footage Festival. And that is my story of Chop and Steele.
Oh my God. I love it so fucking much.
It's amazing.
It's so much more clever because remember when we were like, I want to say it was like the 90s when the Jerky Boys was like big.
That's what I was thinking of, the Jerky Boys and like a little bit of Jackass, but not quite.
Right.
Yeah.
Jerky Boys and Jackass. But like it's all so much more like silly and ridiculous and funny and like fun. Right.
Yeah.
And not nearly as like daredevil-y or stupid or mean-spirited. Because the Jerky Boys were pretty mean-spirited.
They were about the prank phone calls, right? That was their big thing. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
I remember, I know. It was fucking Chop and Steele. These guys are so funny. I love it. They never broke. They never started laughing during these segments either. That's so serious.
That is really talented. That's a true talent. That is a true talent.
It's amazing. Anyway, yeah, I watched that documentary of Chop and Steele on Amazon Prime.
That's awesome. We're going to need to keep an eye out on that tour and have a date and go see this found footage festival. Oh,
and then, oh my God, they also found, so the training video is like this, I guess he's like a janitor for McDonald's and they're showing him walking around cleaning and smiling and all these things, right? They ended up finding that guy. And they talk with him.
I love it. It's so
good.
It's
awesome.
It's so good. Oh, thank you, sister. I needed that.
You're welcome.
We needed that. That was a good that was a good balance today. That was a much better balance. Shit. Do you have anything for the good of the order? We forgot to shout out our newest Patreons.
We have two. Yeah.
Two or three. I don't know if who we shouted last time.
We have two. I wrote them down. Unless I've missed something.
Oh, right. Because we already got you, Liz. We shouted you out.
We got Holly. You back,
Holly Z. Fuck yeah, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
You're a champion. And then Sebastian.
Oh, thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, sweetie. Love you the most.
Love you.
So yeah, you know what? They're in the club now. They get to listen to the bonus content. It's $5 a month. If my 19-year-old with his, first real job can be a patron, you can too. So get in there. It's your bonus episode every month. We're inching our way towards 20 members, and once we hit that 20 mark, we can have another virtual wine night, which will be so much fun. We really want to do that. We're on all the socials. Hey, you can send us email if you're like into that kind of thing. Amber gets the love letters. I get the hate mail, but it all goes to the same account. It is crimewineandchaos@gmail.com. So tell us what you want to tell us. We will read that. We will appreciate that, and we'll probably respond to that because nobody wants to talk to us, so we love when people talk to us. And you know what, you gotta go rate us on your app, and if you have an Apple product, go into the Apple Podcast app and write us a review. That's how other people can find us. The more people that find us, well, the more likely we are to keep doing this. So we love you guys. Thank you, Chaos Kids. I love you.
Thank you, Chaos Kids. I love you too, sister.
That was fucking chaotic.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at crimewineandchaos.com/Patreon. Cheers.
I could never figure out how to walk the dog, though.
In chunks.